Okay, so it looks like it's right at 1:30. So I think we'll go ahead and get our town hall Zoom call started here. We want to lead off with thanking everybody for joining us. We know everybody's really, really busy, so we appreciate y'all taking time on a beautiful Friday to join us. Hopefully these Zoom calls are falling at a good time for the community to participate. We really, really look forward to communicate with y'all again on our economic development project for Haralson County. The format for the call that we're going to have today is Ernest and I have done a lot of talking about the studies that we do in advance of our zoning, and we really want to give you more of a sense for what those studies are and exactly the in-depth nature of which the studies happen. And so what we've done is we've gone out on the site and we've shot some videos, Ernest and I talking about how the studies are done, more to give everybody really, really more of a sense for exactly, what they are. And so we're excited about being able to show you that. We hope that that gives everybody a little bit better feel for the project site. So that's going to be the format. That video is probably going to last about 13 minutes. And then when that video is over, we look forward to taking questions from the audience. We're going to try to limit the call to an hour today to be respectful of everybody's time. But one of the things that I really, really want to talk about here before we cut away to the video, it's just the studies and the nature of which the research that we do on the front end on these sites to make sure that this project is suitable for the county is so unique because most developers that do projects like this, they generally don't go to this level of study. And I just really, really want to emphasize that to the community so everybody understands that just the level of commitment that we have, and let everybody know that the studies that we're doing are all done with our own dollars, every penny of it. So anyway, if we could just go ahead and start with the video, that would be great.
It's so important to know that what we're proposing here is an MSW landfill that is going to be taking ordinary household waste, the type of ordinary household waste that we produce every single day, that Americans, throw in their garbage every single day, and where the vast majority of the household waste today is into a Subtitle D MSW landfill, which is exactly what we're proposing here. We were on the furthest northwest corner of the site, right, which is where Tally Mountain is. Tally Mountain stretches over 1,500 feet in the air. It's actually one of the tallest elevations in all West Georgia. And it provides this incredible natural buffer to the site. It obscures the city of Tallapoosa, the ridge that runs down. It obscures Highway 100. So people, as they turn off the interstate and get on Highway 100 and they start driving in towards Tallapoosa, they're not going to be able to see the development at any point. The tree line and the ridge line is going to completely obscure it, even when the facility is at its highest elevation. And the reason why we know that is because we actually flew balloons. We came out and we flew a series of balloons at the actual peak of the landfill facility. And we drove all around the site, and you cannot see it at any point as you're driving up Highway 100 into the city of Tallapoosa, and that's because of Tally Mountain. And so what was great is we were up there and we're looking down at the site, right? And you can see the natural terrain and the rollingness of it, and it just speaks to how unique that this site is.
Well, in Haralson County, we're on the southwestern end, right off of Interstate 20. You take exit 5 down to 100, and when you come off of that exit, you're going to go about 500 yards and turn in to the site itself. At that point, we have a road that is a 1.5 mile private road that takes you back to the landfill itself. Of all the different projects I've done across the country, this is by far the most isolated and well-positioned piece of property as far as being able to hide it where people can't see it, hear it, smell it. It's a perfect kind of location. And what makes it really nice is that the landfill where the waste is going to go, the footprint, is only going to be on 300 acres. That 300 acres can't be expanded because of natural limitations, not us artificial limitations. And so you got 300 acres in the middle of 2,200 acres, surrounded by ridges and surrounded by mature growth trees that we have no interest in cutting down. You know, this property actually borders the old county landfill, and it borders the youth shooting range. And on the other end of it, you know, we have an industrial park here. And so it's very compatible zoning. And again, that's very unique for one of these projects.
What we did is we set on trying to find a site that was a very large piece of property, a minimum of 1,000 acres with great transportation characteristics. And we've looked all over metro Atlanta, anywhere within a 50, 60-mile radius of downtown, and we were just not able to find any sites that were over 1,000 acres that had great transportation characteristics, anything even remotely close to this one. And that's so important because when we work on our development projects, our sole focus is trying to develop a project that minimizes the impacts on the local community. And so from our standpoint, truck traffic is a major impact. And so for us to be able to bring an economic development project to a county like this and tell the community that the truck's going to come right off of Interstate 20, one of the largest major highways, you know, in the Southeast, and immediately be able to access the site less than 500 yards off the interstate onto a private road that we maintain. I mean, it's going to come off of a federally funded interstate onto a state highway, immediately onto our private road. We're not going to be passing any schools. We're not going to be passing any churches.
The road construction for the entrance to the landfill is approximately 1.5 miles long. There'll be no houses fronting on it. It's a private road. If you see some of the other projects that we've done, it is very well landscaped. And unless you just drive by and decide you want to turn in, or you see the sign there, a nice monument type sign, then you will not know that it's a landfill, period. It's unique to have something coming immediately off an interstate like this. You know, you don't interfere with school traffic. You don't interfere with other trucking. Like in this particular county, there's a lot of chicken industry. You don't interfere with that. You don't pass any houses or churches before you turn in. You have a gas station and a Waffle House. So the location is really perfect from that standpoint.
We got the frontage right on the interstate, which is an ideal location to put an industrial park, which is what's so important, because at the end of the day, this is an economic development project. And we talk about an economic development project for Haralson County. Let's talk about the benefits to the local economy, right? We got a host fee that we're going to be paying to Haralson County that should be $50 to $60 million over the life of the facility. We're going to have city fees, city host fees that we pay to every municipality in Haralson County based on population, which should be another $20 to $30 million.
One of the unique things we do is we put in $1 per ton going in, and that's split among the cities by population. Now in this particular case, you know, we have the largest city being Bremen is a little bit away from here. You're right on close to Waco, and you're close to Tallapoosa. And so what you try and do is the facilities that you're close to, or cities you're close to, is we work with the community and listen to what they have to say, because we don't know. I mean, we've been here a short period of time. We want to hear from people. We want to hear from just general citizens, like on the Zoom call. We want to hear it when we go to the Rotary Club meetings or the chamber. And, you know, they'll vary. Every one of these projects we do, they're always different. Of course, in Meriwether County, the industrial park was very important to them. Here, you know, we're going to have the industrial park, but, you know, we've heard from different people, different mayors, city and county administrators that, well, you know, we need some parks. You know, we need a gymnasium.
And so the landfill brings that opportunity to Haralson County, which the there's so many different ways the county could take this. I mean, they could take, and I would fully expect them to do this. They're going to take some of their host fees, and they're going to use that to apply for matching grants with the state and the federal government to just magnify the host fees on an order of, maybe they'll put 30% down, and the state would probably fund the other 70% for a lot of various projects. So the state is going to want to be supportive of an economic development project of this magnitude.
What that enables you to do is the money that is generated off of the landfill affords you to be able to have the infrastructure put in for an industrial park. In industrial recruitment, if you don't have the infrastructure in place, the industries don't come. It's that simple. On top of that, depending on what kind of industry comes in, and this will be light industry just like Meriwether, no smokestack, but the waste that they generate can come straight into the landfill. Also, the other benefit is that when you look at the methane gas that a landfill creates, is we try very hard to recruit a company that needs a lot of natural gas. And if we do that, then we can clean it and pipe it straight to them. It saves them money, it saves us money. And then with the industrial park piece, the rewarding part of that is you're creating jobs where in a lot of communities, the students graduate from high school, go to college, and they never come back, okay? They never come back. And so we want to give them an environment to where when they get out of college, we'll have good paying jobs here. We're not talking about warehousing, we're not talking about minimum wage type jobs, we're talking about jobs that you have to have a skill for, that pay very well. And we're proud to do that kind of work. That, you know, in Huntsville, I did a lot of work on industrial development. And, you know, when you get projects and you see them go up and you see the people that are working there coming in, it gives you a very good feeling. It makes you feel proud of what you've done.
Right now, there's so much fear of the unknown, and which we understand, right? People don't understand what the development's going to look like in the future. And what's so unique about our team and what we can bring to Haralson County is the ability for them to drive to Meriwether, an hour and a half away, and actually be able to see exactly what the development's going to look like. And so I would love for people to hold their reservations until they get a chance to do that. First off, if people are hesitant to go down there, they should first read the Gateway Beacon article that the reporter who just went down on her own, and she went and knocked on some people's doors and interviewed the mayor of Hogansville, which is actually in the adjacent county, talked to as many people as she possibly could, looked to try to get, an unbiased version of the development from as many different people. And from the overview of that article, this project down there in Meriwether County has been an absolute game changer for that community. It's come in and it has spurred a lot of growth. Just in the first quarter of this year alone, Meriwether County got $970,000 worth of host fees off of the landfill alone, and that's just the county. There's over 900 jobs in the industrial park. So I would encourage people to go and read that article and get an initial sense for what the development was like. And then past that, I really would encourage people to drive down and look at the facility, go through the industrial park. You don't need an invitation to drive through the industrial park. You could just drive right in the entrance. And what people are going to find is if they drive around the whole perimeter of that facility, they can actually only see the landfill in a couple of locations, and they're not going to be able to smell it.
Now, the part of the host agreement, of course, will have the host fees. The other part will have things like on Saturdays, the citizens get free disposal. All they have to do is show their driver's license. They have free disposal for bulky waste and white goods. In other words, refrigerators and freezers, large couches, the stuff that you normally find dumped on county roads. You have free disposal for those. We will have a household hazardous waste day twice a year where people from their homes and their farms can bring things there, and we will sort them and then properly dispose of them.
So we're wrapping up all of our studies, and we've done over a dozen different major environmental and impact studies, all at our own dollars. We're spending all of this money ourselves, and we're really, really close to having these studies complete. When those studies are complete, we'll actually file for our zoning, and people will be able to see the facts about the project. We're going to put all this on our website. We're going to post it in the library. There'll be executive summaries of the various studies. There'll be the full version of the studies, and people will be able to see the facts.
Okay. Well, all right. That was a great video. I am so happy that we were able to get that filmed and be able to show everybody in Haralson County the extent to the studies that we've done, the amount of time and energy that Ernest and the rest of our team have put into this project. And I really, really think it speaks to the level of transparency that we're going to have with Haralson County. We want to make sure that you're fully informed on all the facts surrounding this project, so people can have questions that they have answered, because we know that there's a tremendous amount of fear of the unknown, like we talked about, but we're very confident that as the facts come out about the project, people will really, really see what an amazing impact we can have, what an amazing positive impact this economic development project will have on the community. What we want to do next is we want to just jump into a Q&A session with everybody. How this is going to work is I think we're going to try to get people to type in questions at first, and then after that we'll go to just having people just call in with questions or just open their mic with questions. What we've done is I think we're going to unmute everybody when we start with the call-in session, but I just want to do one housekeeping item. If somebody, if we do have an issue with somebody being a little unruly with any of their questions or any of the Q&A session, we may just have to mute them. Hopefully we won't have to do that, but I wanted to sort of make that statement on the front end. But anyway, maybe we'll just open the floor here with some questions. Looks like we've got one right now. Phil, you want to take that question?
Yeah, let's see. The question is, you mentioned that the balloons were not seen from Highway 100, but you could see them from I-20. So asking a little bit about your balloon study.
Well, no, you actually, so that's a great question. And I'm glad that I get a chance to make this really, really clear. As you're driving westbound on Interstate 20 from Atlanta towards Alabama, you will not be able to see the facility at any point. We could not see the balloons at the very, very height of the landfill at any point driving westbound along Interstate 20. You get off the exit there. As you're exiting off and you're just about to approach Highway 100, if you were to turn back almost 180 degrees, then you would be able to, for maybe a matter of 1 or 2 seconds, be able to see the balloon at its height. But once you got to Highway 100, and you turn right on Highway 100 and you went north all the way into the city of Tallapoosa, you would not be able to see the balloon at any point. If you were on Interstate 20 and you were headed eastbound from Alabama, you're driving from Birmingham to Alabama, and you drove across the exit 5, which is Highway 100, as you were driving across that overpass, as you were headed eastbound, if you look to your left, you would be able to see the balloons, you'd be able to see the facility, but just for that brief moment that you were on the overpass as you were driving across, because once you got on the other side of the overpass, you wouldn't be able to see it anymore because it's a tree line. So yeah, that hopefully answers your question there.
Okay, another question came in, and it's from Ted, and he says, what guarantee do we have that the landfill will not expand beyond the 300 acres that you're talking about permitting?
That's what's really unique about this site, is that when you look at the 2,200 acres, the actual 300-acre footprint where the waste will go is surrounded by both artificial and natural barriers. To the north, you can't cross because of the utility lines and the gas lines coming through. When you get to the south end of it, you're dealing with a couple of creeks down there that you're not going to be able to jump over and get around. And so you're really confined in many ways to that 300-acre footprint. And, you know, as we get moving forward now, we'll be putting the maps out. And when you look at that map, it'll jump off the page of why you can't expand it. And so people keep saying it's going to be a 1,000-acre landfill. Well, I don't care, you know, who you are or what you're thinking, but that will not happen. It's impossible for that to happen.
Not only are we geographically and physically restrained from expanding the landfill beyond 300 acres, we're also going to put it in the host agreement too, right, Ernest?
Well, it'll be in the host agreement. It'll be in the zoning. It's going to be in the permit. You know, it's going to be everywhere where we have to file documents. You know, that's our intentions. And no matter who comes in after us, if somebody does come in after us, they can't move outside of that 300 acres either. It's not there. Can't happen. Next question.
I don't see any more that are typed in here right now. Maybe we just open it up, and if there's someone who wants to ask a question just in the audio manner, you're welcome to just ask a question with Ernest and T here. I'm sorry, we have one that came in just a minute ago. It says, you have previously mentioned the host agreement will state that coal ash is not allowed. Will the host agreement be written specifically to only accept household waste rather than what is excluded?
The host agreement will be written as to what is excluded. The permit will be written as to what's excluded. In other words, what cannot come in. And not only writing in the host agreement, because, you know, then people say, well, you know, somebody can come in and change it, or the county commission can change it. Well, we went from there to actually going in and looking at deed restricting the property so that it cannot take coal ash and it cannot take sewage sludge. All right, that lasts for 20 years. So we said, okay, so let's take a look at the reality of if we can even get coal ash. And so we went to Southern Company, Georgia Power, and we looked at their court mandates about coal ash ponds and what they're having to do. And basically everything within 50 or 60 miles, all those coal ash utility plants will be closed down as far as their coal ash ponds, and whatever action they're going to take with them would have already been over with. There will be no coal ash ponds out there from 60 miles that they'll have to be bringing coal into. The court mandate gives the exact dates that these plans have to be finished and the coal ash put in its permanent place. And there's not a single one within that 50 or 60 miles where the coal ash is not already going to be taken care of. So then you say, well, okay, what are you going, you know, what about outside that area? Well, transporting coal ash gets pretty expensive pretty quick. And once again, since, you know, we're not going to be using the rail, that means the cheapest way to move that coal ash is not available. And so it's like we said before, if, you know, with the liner, if you don't have water on the liner, then the liner can't leak. If you don't have coal plants that still have coal ash they're trying to deal with, then it's hard to say that you're gonna bring coal ash in. And so that's how we're handling that. And that's important to us. We believe very much that we do not want coal ash in the facility.
Right. We've been really, really way out in front on this issue, haven't we, Ernest? We've said from the very, very beginning that we will not accept coal ash. We will not accept sewage sludge. These are high moisture content waste that contribute to some issues that some landfills have had around Metro Atlanta. And so we agree with the community completely on the reservation surrounding those waste streams. We said before this was even an issue, before anyone even raised it, we came out and said that, listen, we're not going to be accepting those waste.
Another question that came in, they're asking about what is the life of the landfill? How long will it take to fill it?
You know, the landfill's life would probably be somewhere between 27 to 30 years. Now, with that said, most landfills that when they're permitted, you do that estimate, and then they very well may close quicker than that, depending on the placement of tons and how many tons you're getting per day. But a safe thing, if you want to really broaden it out, 25 to 30 years.
Okay.
And that's also, that number is tied to the disposal assurance plan that we have to have with the county that guarantees that they'll have disposal. I believe it's for 25 years. And so that has to, as we're making that guarantee to the county, we have to sort of keep track of that and how much waste is coming in so that we can make sure that we fill that guarantee.
Dara and Rebecca Johnson ask a question. Why not list only household waste as acceptable? Wouldn't that prevent any future toxic items from being allowed?
No, probably not. You've got toxic items, some of which are underneath your cabinet. What you want to do is restrict what is coming in. And that way, if there's 15 years in the future, if there's something there that we don't know about now that you want to start restricting, you can add that to the restricted list by simply a vote of the county commissioners. So that's why we do it that way.
Ted asks a question. He says, as a resident of Gold Creek Drive, I'm very concerned about the adverse impacts of being so close to a landfill. How will your company remedy all of the negative impacts that I will experience with your proposed landfill?
Well, it's two things. Number one, I think if you go to Meriwether County, that you'll understand, and I know exactly where this gentleman lives, you will understand and see with your own eyes, your own ears, and your own nose that where he lives and the distance to the landfill that he is measured out at, he should not receive any negative impacts. Now to say he's not going to ever, for some reason, he may get a whiff, but I doubt it even be that. All the people we've taken down to Meriwether County, until they get on the working phase, they hadn't smelt it. Okay, if you don't take sewage sludge and you cover the waste like you're supposed to, then your odor stays checked. So that's a good question. Now I believe is right at or close to a mile from the landfill itself. As we come off of 100, we're going to come off immediately past that Exxon station, and we're going to run behind a ridge so that we're not exposed to any of the, or they're not exposed to any of the noise of the trucks, or if there is a smell from a truck, they're not exposed to either one of those because we're running behind a ridge and then crossing Pleasant Hill Church Road and then weaving through ridges again. Predominant wind in that area is going to be northwest to southeast. Okay, you don't very seldom get a northwest to southwest wind.
Ernest, do you want to talk some about the property value protection plan for Gold Creek?
Yeah, we have the property value protection plan says that once the landfill opens, the day that we open, we send contracts to all the people that live within 1 mile of the facility. And what that contract says is that if you decide in the next 10 years you want to sell your house and you cannot get the appraised value at that time, as if it's not located next to the landfill, and you get a legitimate offer that's less than that arm's length transaction, then we're responsible for paying the difference. Now, again, going back to what's unique about this site, within that 1 mile, we list 62 pieces of property. The host agreement covers a home, a house, a structure, and X number of acres. And so when you look at that, you have probably, you look at the vacant pieces of property that don't have houses on it, that's 8 or 10 or more. You know, the number starts falling off when you start looking at you know, those parameters. Obviously, you don't have a property value protection plan for someone that just has a, you know, piece of property with no home on it.
But the residents of Gold Creek subdivision would fall within that radius. They would be protected by that property value protection
Yeah.
plan. So that's one of the protections that we have in place for y'all specifically. And we are doing an odor study as well. That's part of our zoning package, which will be available to the residents of Gold Creek to review, and they'll be able to actually see a scientific. It's going to be done by someone who's got a PhD in chemical engineering, so they're very qualified. So we look forward to being able to review that with y'all.
Okay, we've got someone who has raised their hand. I think they might want to ask a question. Let's go ahead and open that mic so they can ask their question.
Well, hey, Phil, before we move on, it looks like Darren and Rebecca asked another questions about confused why we wouldn't start off with the restriction.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Rebecca just said, I am still confused why you wouldn't start off with the restrictions rather than deal with that later.
Michael, maybe we get you to speak to this for a second, but the landfill will be restricted to only accepting non-hazardous household waste, right? So there will be a full restriction on any sort of, you know, toxic waste, obviously, from the very jump. Michael, do you want to talk a little bit about that waste stream specifically?
Right. Thanks, T. So the definition, the way facilities are permitted is you simply permit the facility based on the definition of the waste that is allowed, and then you could add restrictions to that. So state of Georgia, as in practically every state, there's a nice, very clean definition of municipal solid waste that includes household waste. And so that's the definition that all municipal solid waste landfills are permitted under. And then in your case, you guys are adding restrictions to that are even more restrictive. So this is in no way, there's a definition of hazardous waste as well. This is in no way hazardous waste. This is strictly municipal solid waste, those wastes that have a defined definition that put them in a box. And in fact, the definition is centered around household waste that we all generate that cannot be recycled, that needs to be safely disposed of.
Okay.
We have a call-in question, Phil?
Yeah, let's do
I think so. Galaxy,
Yes,
go ahead.
my name is Charles Tucker Sr. I live on Gold Creek Drive. I personally am not interested in having all the truck traffic going in around behind me or near me. I do believe it'll hurt property values. You're hard to convince me it won't. In fact, number two, I don't trust people when they say I'll give you later. So I'm not supporting your operation as you've said it yet. And I'm not exactly sure with things where you go. I'm sort of late getting into this mess, but I'm not right now. I'm in no way favor of supporting you at all.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying. We hope that if you so choose, we have our phone numbers at the end of this presentation, and we would love to invite you up to where our office is, or we'd be glad to come down to your house and give you a full-blown presentation with all the maps and all the distances, and we'll be glad to ride you around and show you where everything's going to be. And so, you know, if you'll please give us that opportunity, then I don't ask you to support us, but I would like to give you a truthful, real explanation of what we're actually doing.
Well, for actually what appears to me, you're doing a function for money. You're going to bring in truckloads of waste from around other areas right by my house or near my house, and it's going to be going on all day long. That's what I understand.
Yes, sir. That's why we'd like to, you know, encourage you. We'd love to meet with you, go through everything, and then, you know, you have your you'll at least know when you make your decision and final that you know every true fact about where everything is, and not some of the things that are being spread around in the community right now that are just not true. So if you'll give us a call, we'll be glad to do that. However you want to meet.
Well, what we'd love to do too is be able to actually tour you on the actual site itself. In between Gold Creek subdivision and where the facility is going to be built are two ridges that are really, really prominent, that really, really provide just a tremendous amount of natural buffer. So I think when we get a chance to look at the site together, I think you'll have a better understanding of how unique it is from that standpoint. And then secondly, to address your concerns about the property value protection plan, that's an actual contract that you will hold as a part of the host agreement. It's a legal contract that'll be protecting your property value. So there's no reason.
You protecting my property value to county appraisal bids, or you checking you're going to check my property against what actual appraisers is and sales it at the time?
So your property value will be protected against an independent appraisal that is done as if it did not sit next to a landfill. So there will be an independent appraiser that comes in, appraises your home value, won't be based off of the county's tax assessment value. It'll be an independent appraiser who'll come in, he'll assess your value as if it was not sitting next to a landfill. And if you cannot receive that value for your home, we will make up the difference.
And importantly, let's say that we open up in 2027, okay? And you say in 2030 or 2035 that you want to sell your house, okay? Then the appraisal is done then on what is then worth as if it was not sitting next to a landfill. It's not done now so that you would not enjoy the appreciation of the property or the property that they're appraising as not being next to a landfill. And that's important number or fact that you need to know.
Let me
A lot of people
clarify
say, well,
one
let's
thing.
just, a lot of people say, well, let's just appraise it right now. Well, I can assure you, your property is going to be worth more if we have a landfill, if we don't have a landfill, 15, 10 years from now, period.
Well, let me clarify this little something to me. You say you're going in by the Exxon station. You're going to go behind the property at Gold Creek Drive, cross Churchill Road, and go over in there in the woods.
Michael, you sort of run through that, please. Michael.
There we go.
Yeah, so simply come off of 100 right there, past the gas station, run more or less due east, cross a small stream that flows underneath the interstate, but we're well off the interstate, and then head generally northeasterly between two ridges, cross the county dirt road at that section, and that is a gravel road by the time you get there. Continue almost due northeasterly and cross Walker Creek, and then eventually get to the site. I'm going to go on memory and say it is somewhere in the vicinity of 8,000 foot of road between where the facility would come off of 100 and when you actually get to the facility. So not quite 2 miles, but somewhere between just generally 1.5 miles or so, due east, then northeast between two ridges.
I understand. I know where Church Mountain Road is, the gravel dirt road you're talking about. It goes up over the hill and heads down that way. I know where my house sits. I know that the gravel road that you're talking about, where it goes and how it goes there. But you're talking about taking a road off of 100 at the Exxon station, which is just a little bit, I guess, south from where I'm at. And you're going to go through there somewhere behind the property at Gold Creek Drive. All the properties on Gold Creek Drive, and hit into that gravel road and cross it and go to your other location. You can't be very far. A mile from my house is not very far back through there, no matter what you're saying.
Well, again, if you'll give us the opportunity to visit with you and give us the opportunity to show you the maps and actually go back to the property and where the road's going to go and where the landfill is going to be.
How many truckloads of waste and garbage you bring in on a daily basis?
Is there somebody there with you that we need to talk to about it?
Nope, nobody
Okay.
here but me. But
Good.
they will be eventually, because I do have a lawyer and we'll be in contact with.
Okay, good. We will be starting out year one, somewhere around 750 tons a day. And then over probably the next 7 or 8 years, it'll build up a little bit at a time until we get to what we call would be a stabilization year. And at that point, then we would hope to be right at 3,000 tons a day.
That's a lot of trucks. No real, that's a lot of trucks.
That's why we're so
How you-
glad to get them
no
off the
matter how
road
you
as
want
soon
to
as possible.
how you want to cut the pie, it's a lot of trucks.
Sure.
I don't know necessarily I want all that trucks in around me.
Well, so what's so unique about our private road that we're going to have is it actually runs, there's this major ridge that runs right behind the Gold Creek subdivision. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's just remarkable. It stretches 200 feet up in the air. And the first time I walked back down this, the dirt road that's there now, that's basically mirror where our road's going to go. I was just amazed by how tucked back behind that ridge it is. It's really going to limit the impacts from a noise standpoint. But you do have to realize that those roads will be trucks will be coming in over a span of 12 hours. So it's going to probably wind up resulting,
Don't do that.
towards its peak. The actual truck study will show it all, but it's probably going to be something in the neighborhood of a truck every 4 to 5 minutes. When you look at from the amount of traffic that's on Highway 100, the amount of traffic that's on Interstate 20, it's a pretty manageable impact.
Bill, we have another question.
Yeah, we do have some more questions. Let's, one question from Rebecca Johnson again said, is there any scenario where this landfill is not built?
I'm sorry, we said that again.
Rebecca Johnson said, is there any scenario where this landfill isn't built?
Well, obviously if it isn't built, it would only be because we don't get a final permit from the state, or that during the appeal process after the final permit's issued, that a judge would deem that the state had done something wrong in its review, in which case we'd have to go back, the state would have to go back and take a look and correct that in the process.
Ted asked the question, he said, how many trucks per day will be arriving at the landfill? I think T spoke to that, at least the tons per day a moment ago. And he also, Ted had a follow-up question. He said, where can we find the information on the property value guarantee?
Ernest, maybe I'll answer the first part of this. We understand the concerns about truck traffic. I think I addressed it in the video at the beginning. When Ernest and I set out to try to find a location to do this development, our number one objection was to try to limit the truck impact. We know that's a serious deal. We can't have trucks passing schools. We can't have trucks passing churches. It's a primary route for them to enter this site. We get that completely. That was what's so amazing about this location, first and foremost. So we owe the community a list of the trucks. We're developing that right now. That's a major part of the studies that we're doing. And as soon as we have that information, we're going to make that public on our website. Somebody asked that exact same question on the last call. We're very, very close to having all that complete. So I apologize that we don't have it up yet, but we're working really, really quickly on that. And as soon as we have it, it'll be there in public, and we'll have an exact answer to that question.
And the second part of that was, where can we find the information on the property value guarantee?
We hope to, within the next 3 to 4 weeks, be able to turn in the full zoning application. A part of the host agreement that will be turned in with that is going to be the property value protection program. It'll be in there. It'll be out on the internet. It'll be out on our website. We'll be glad to come by and discuss it with you. And, everybody will have total access to that and read the wording throughout, before the first hearings carried on at the planning board or the county commission. But It's an integral part of what we do. We're very proud of what the things are that are in there. It's not typical of what a waste company does when they come in to permit a landfill. And, you know, it's the way that you would want it done if you were going to have a landfill that would be next to you or within a mile of you. It has a lot of protections in there, and it specifies a lot of stuff that goes on within government, within the county and the cities.
You know, Ernest, maybe we just talk for a second about what's not typical. I mean, we have assembled over 2,000 acres worth of property with the sole purpose of trying to limit the impacts on the surrounding neighbors as much as humanly possible. Well, Ernest, why don't you speak a little bit, maybe if you could, about some of the major landfills that service Metro Atlanta towards the northeast, and how you've got a 300-acre facility that has basically no buffer at all because the developers didn't buy up any of the surrounding property, and they just permitted every acre of what they had acquired.
Well, you know, gee, that's a good point, but that is not a phenomenon unique to Georgia. Unfortunately, the waste industry, as it grew and expanded, typically would get 300 acres, try and get 150 or get a 150-foot buffer around it, and then go from there. And Michael, I'll see if you want to, agree or make comment on that also. But, what we do is I'll give you a good example up in Gwinnett County. BFI had a landfill up there, has a landfill up there right now. And when you look at the before and after aerial shots of that landfill, you will realize quickly how many houses, subdivisions, elementary schools build right up next to the footprint. That's a 150-foot buffer up there. And there's a couple thousand houses and subdivisions that surround that neighborhood. And I'm not talking about, little bitty a trailer park, or I'm not talking about, small housing. Some of those houses, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 houses. Gwinnett County, who's a pretty progressive county, built an elementary school that shares a fence line with the playground and the landfill. And those are the kind of maps and all aerials that we like to take and show to people, because when people say, well, nobody's going to build next to a landfill, it's just not true. It is absolutely not true. I don't care if I take you maps from Georgia, if I take you maps from Texas, if I take you maps from about anywhere.
Right.
As soon as it gets open, people are building subdivisions in there. And if you go up and look in Gwinnett County, you don't ride through there and see 100 houses for sale at a time. Right. It's a stable neighborhood. It's well kept up. You go down to Meriwether County, you've got anywhere from $500,000 houses to smaller houses, and you have some very nice, well kept up trailers, and you don't see a bunch of signs where people are moving out. It's all about the way these things are designed. When you've got so much property like we do, that you can actually isolate this thing and keep it away from sensitive areas like neighborhoods, churches, schools. And then we want to keep that land pretty much, as it is, except for the 260 something acres that are fronting the interstate. There'd be an industrial park there. But the rest of this land, we bought that much so we could keep a big buffer, out of respect for the neighborhood.
Right. No question about it. That's really what's so unique about our development philosophy. So we're really proud of that.
A couple other questions have come in. Ted asks, will Solid Solutions consider extending the property guarantee for time beyond the 10 years? I had planned to retire in this location and wanted to be here for about 20 years.
No, we will not be extending it past 10 years. I mean, the truth is, 10 years is a real number, because then you've got, you're stabilized about how many trucks are coming in. You've already, particularly in this case where Ted lives, basically 10 years from then, we're going to be moving away from him up the hill, going north. And so, at that point, we're probably in cell 3. But the landfill is not going to be moving closer to him. It's going to be moving further away from him.
Okay. Another question came in from Rebecca. It says, you've stated that if the county commission does not vote in favor of this, you will take it to court. If the court voted against you as well, to what extent will you continue to appeal?
Bill, we're gonna do just like anyone else that has a business. We're gonna meet all the regulations, all the design criteria that's put up by the federal government and the state government. We have the host agreement and all of that, and it's important that we get through local approval. Obviously, if there's some glitch for some reason that is illogical about why you're turned down, then yes, we will go to court. But are we going to go to court forever? No. We want to be a part of this community. We want people every day to feel like they can come and discuss this. We're opening an office up on the square. They can discuss this stuff with them. If we have open communication and there's a problem or they have a problem, then we're going to certainly do everything that we can to fix it. We're not going to spend, by the time this thing is open, $25 to $28 million and turn around and do stupid things and get closed. It's just, that's a rational thought. It's just not going to happen. We want to make this area better, not worse. We don't want to do anything that's going to hurt Ted or to value his property. Or like me, I'm getting old. I'm probably maybe the same age he is. But, we've got to be able to enjoy the end of our lives. And that's what that's what I want to happen. Just like I would hope somebody would do with me. So hopefully, that'll be something that Ted is not going to have to be worried about.
So a couple of questions have come in. And also I will tell people, if you want to unmute, if you want to talk to us live, just unmute yourself. There's an unmute button on your screen there. You can do that. But just a couple of things. Will the entrance to the landfill off of Highway 100 have a traffic light installed to control the existing truck traffic?
I doubt that the state would do that. There's certain requirements about distances from where you get off an interstate or where you have a traffic light compared to getting in and out of an exit. Some studies tell you that when you have a traffic light, you're probably going to have more accidents than you did if you didn't have one. But Michael, you want to talk about that a minute? Michael?
So the way the traffic study works is the volume of trucks associated with the different relatively low tonnage to start, ramping up to kind of just a standard site in the southeast. The traffic volume, being this is mainly going to be a transfer facility, will be relatively low. And because of that, you don't want to add stoplights unnecessarily. It has a reverse. It restricts, traffic lights have the potential to restrict traffic flow rather than help it. And the volume of the traffic and the volume on 100 currently, it does not support a traffic light for all those reasons. So those are the parts of the studies that we have the DOT expert look at. But right now it's really not even close to even the threshold to even consider traffic light, and sight distance at the location that the entrance road would come off of is well in advance of minimums set forth by the Georgia DOT.
And so in closing with that particular question, obviously if DOT were to come to us and say, we're at a point now with the facility, we need to have a traffic light here. We're going to do what they tell us to do. That's what you're supposed to do.
There's a question from Dara and Rebecca Johnson. It says, so rather than the citizens have input on whether this comes or not, aren't these meetings really just about you making us feel better about what you have already decided to do, which is based on economic benefit to you, not necessarily what is best to our community?
No, that's not the case. at all. And, you know, it's not what's best for us. Unfortunately, we all every day, we all have this thing in our head that this neat little thing happens every morning. Once a week, we get up, we take all this garbage that we've generated and we haul it out to the street. And then lo and behold, when we get home, some little genie or something's picked it up and has taken it away. We all produce, every person produces about a ton of waste a year. And there's always going to have to be a place for it to go. So in our regard, and the reason why I do it is I want to make sure if we're going to have a facility, it's going to be built right and run right. And that we spend a whole lot more money trying to ensure that happens in the upfront part of this stuff, that if we just wanted to be, you know, just some Joe Smo putting a landfill in, you know, they'd probably cut all kinds of corners and have all kinds of problems. But we're not. You know, we've done this. I've done this all over the United States. Okay, operated facilities in Guam. You know, it's just, this is a continuing business. This is not some one-off thing that a developer shows up and says, "Oh, I think it's going to be a good idea to have a landfill," and a landfill's built. We spent almost a year and a half trying to find out where would be the best place for one in basically North Georgia, going down 20 and north of that. The site, we don't go pick a site out. We don't go riding up and down the road and say, "Oh, this looks great." You know, we do a tremendous amount of studies. A tremendous amount of money is spent before we ever even start putting together an application for zoning, because we don't pick the site. The site picks itself. And that's why, you know, when you go like you should, it's slower, it's more expensive. But at the end, you have a project that has no fatal flaws and all the different protections in it that you would want if it were you. And so, no, we're not being insensitive to people. You know, I know some folks may think that, but I think the more that you get to know us, T and I think that you'll find out that, like other communities in Texas and Georgia and, you know, Wyoming and North Dakota and Guam and Kansas and Colorado, I think you'll find out that we're not devils. We don't design crappy projects. And that's a big hurdle for us to get over. And that's why we're doing all these things like Zoom calls. We had community meetings there for a while. You know, we invite people like Ted and others to come up and visit us, or we'll go visit them. A lot of people do that. And when they leave, they generally say, "Well, you know, that's not what we're being told." And that's why we're so excited 3 weeks or 4 weeks from now when that zoning application gets turned in. The truth's there. It's going to be out on the internet, be on our website, be at the city hall, be at the courthouse, be at the library. You can either go sit down and read it on the internet. You know, every single piece of it. So all this stuff that people's been saying, that it's going to be 1,000-acre landfill, that, you know, it's going to be up next to the interstate, or we're going to enter off on Highway 78, and, you know, that we're going to be taking waste out of Alabama, and all this kind of stuff that you've heard, which is absolutely not true, and is said to keep people confused and to try and get people, particularly my age people, overly concerned about misinformation. And I've seen this throughout my life and what we do. And it's sad when people basically prey on people my age and people that necessarily, you know, are just not able to understand some things. I don't know. We're proud of what we do.
I mean,
Neither one of us are gonna duck our head.
well, Ernest, I'd speak to the fact that the economic benefits to the county are real. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the video. We're having an economic impact study that's being done by a qualified PhD that specializes in doing these types of studies. And I think the county is going to be really, really impressed with the results of that. That will be submitted as part of our zoning package. But industry likes to be sited close to the interstate. That section of the county is an ideal place to put an industrial park. We're building a private road that's going to be 1.5 miles at our own cost to open up that whole piece of property for the development of the industrial park. So I'd say the economic benefits for Haralson County are very, very real and will be felt for decades and generations out there. It's a transformative project for the future of the county, and I know Ernest and I take great pride in that. So I think we're kind of butting up against an hour here. I feel like we've answered everybody's questions. I want to be really, really respectful of everybody's time here. If we go ahead, Ernest.
Ted's asked a whole lot of questions, and do we have anybody out here that has not had a chance to ask a question yet? Okay. Go ahead, Ted. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No. I'm glad you did. Yeah. So we really want to hear from everybody. If we could please put up our contact information on the screen. Just remind everybody that these are our personal cell phone numbers. These are our personal email addresses. You send me an email, I'm going to get it. Send Ernest an email, he's going to get it. You call us, we're going to call you back. We want you to ask us questions. We want you to ask us tough questions. We want to have a relationship with the community. We want to be transparent. And more specifically, we want to engage with the community on the host agreement. When we talk about host agreement, what it means, we need your input so we know that we're putting things in the host agreement that are important to the community. So we really, really encourage those. Secondly, I think we'd heard a comment that having a 1:30 Zoom call on Fridays can be difficult for some people because of work. So we're looking at a different time to do it, probably in the evening during the week, so people can participate after work. So we really appreciate that feedback that we got from folks. And other than that, we hope everybody has a great weekend. We really encourage you to reach out to us. We want a relationship with you. We encourage you to look at our website. All the other Zoom calls that we've done are posted on there. We have a YouTube page. So we got a lot of information.
And please, we want to hear from people about what their thoughts are on the host agreement. We've heard from people in Bremen. We've heard from people in Tallapoosa, in Waco. We've been trying to get through to the folks in the Buncombe community, and we haven't been successful at that. But we need to hear from y'all, please, now, because it's not going to be too long from now that it's going to be too late to add some things in there. So,
yeah, right. I mean, just because we engage with you on the host agreement doesn't mean that you're endorsing the project. It just means that you are communicating. So, yeah, that's important.
Thank you.
Well, very good. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll talk with everybody soon.
Go watch some football.
There you go.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So.